You have to ask yourself, why do I do it? You know, and I ask myself that all the time because I've invested a lot of money and my time and like, what's the point? And it's because it's fun. It's because it brings peace to me. And that way I can deal with the rest of life, you know, on the outside.
If you don't find it fun, don't do it.
Welcome back to the ZHZ Podcast. Today we have a very special guest joining us all the way from Cambridgeshire, UK. He's an expert mixing and mastering engineer with a rich musical background and a passion for creating top-notch audio experiences.
Trevor's journey is an inspiring one, from spinning records as a DJ to becoming a qualified audio engineer, and now offering his professional services to artists worldwide. We're thrilled to have him on the show today. Please welcome Trevor Noakes. Did you see a lot of crazy weather from that storm that blew through?
Not in the location we are. No, it skirted up the country away from us.
Right. I've got a
major.
good friend that lives just outside of Glasgow, and man,
they got smashed.
She was outside, like they had all their patio furniture like tied down and everything, and even that, man, it was coming loose. She was out there trying to get roofs and trees, and I guess there's a tree near her home that was like 500 years old that got uprooted. And
that's depressing.
Crazy, man.
I don't know what's going on with the world's weather at the moment, but it's mental.
Well, I mean, thank God it's all a hoax, man.
Yeah.
It's all fake. It's we live in a matrix, don't you know?
Oh, right. That's what it is.
Yeah. So Trevor, what are some of the key influences that guided your career choice in audio? Like why and how did you become an audio engineer?
Back when I was 14, because I was interested in music that my brother was playing while I was listening to it at home. When I was 14, I thought, I want to be a DJ. So I became a DJ.
Nice.
It went from there. Then it was pulled into how do they make this? So you DJ and you're playing other people's records, right? How do you make this music now?
Right.
So then I got into that, put myself through night school, became an audio engineer, fell out of it, came back into it a couple of times. And then 2021, I thought, you know what? I'm sick and fed up of what I do as a day job. I want to see if I can make it.
Right.
So I've started my own business.
Right. So do you still work like, yeah. We all have day puke jobs as they call them.
We have to, yeah.
Yeah. But
that's what
I
pays
also
the bills.
I know you in our conversation back and forth when we were trying to schedule this out, you had mentioned that you went on an adventure ride. You ride adventure motorcycles as well? You're into that?
Yeah, I've just started doing that.
So what bike do you have?
I've got two. I've got a KTM 790R and a KTM 400 EXE.
Oh, okay. That's a big bike. It's amazing. I have a Yamaha TW 200.
Okay.
Dual sport that I have fun with, and then I have a road bike, like a cruiser, Yamaha cruiser that I use to.
And I have a Ford Taurus, which is kind of like a motorcycle, but only it's not because it's a car.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of the same.
I used to race bikes. So.
Oh, okay. Like like on street surface or dirt bikes or.
Yeah, dirt bikes when I was younger, when I was in my early teens, and then when I was 30, I had a bad road accident. I thought, I'm sick and fed up of being on the road, so I went and did road racing, short circuit road racing.
Cool. That's pretty brave stuff, man. I see them guys racing. I'm like, they're crazy. but
so one of the questions that we try to ask all of the guests here on the show is whenever you're involved in a creative pursuit that really grabs hold of your soul and kind of steers you in a certain direction, we like to call it the aha moment, where usually it's one point in time, one specific experience that you have where the light goes on and you say to yourself, my God, this is what I want to do. And as we were talking earlier, it sounds like it was listening to records with your brother, with the music that made you want to be a DJ, that turned you into the audio engineer that you are today. do you remember a certain point of your DJ career where that stands out, where that the first time that thought popped into your head?
It's when I first experienced some pro level DJ gear. It was a case of how much you can do to music, rather than just spinning.
Yeah, how much you can manipulate it.
Yeah, rather than just spinning 2 decks, bit of scratching and all that sort of stuff. But then you can go into really digging into how you can manipulate everything.
Right, from pitching to beat match to FX and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool.
And then if I can do this with the music that's already there, what can I do with the raw product to create the music to begin with?
Exactly. What tools are out there to allow me to do that?
Right. So do you still do DJ work?
No.
Too much long nights.
Too much hassle.
Yeah. I get it. I thought about it for a hot minute, and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm probably not going to do that. But you're right though, because like you think of like DJ producers like Skrillex, Knife Party, they when they're performing their own stuff. They might mix in other stuff too, but they're manipulating on the fly their own material.
Yep.
And
I've still got all my gear, and it's all hooked up to my computer. So any productions I want to do in Cubase or Reaper or Ableton, I can still do all that stuff as well. I can bring my turntables in and have fun.
You haven't had the heart to get rid of it yet. Yeah, I get it. I still have a bunch of equipment that like gear and music stuff. Like I just can't part with stuff, man. Not when it comes to music.
A lot of it's irreplaceable.
Right. Well, and then the amount that you spent, to invest in that product to turn around and sell it you never get really what it's about, what's worth out of it.
No, it's like 16 years old using a weekly wage check of not a lot to buy a pair of Technics SL 1200s.
Right.
That's a lot of investment.
It is, yeah. No, and then, I mean, especially, and if you're producing sound too, so if you're running a PA, then you're really starting to climb up there in price for sure.
Well, that's what
and I think also inherently, as creators, as artists, no matter what the reality says, no matter what your head is saying, I don't want to do this anymore, you always know that there's the possibility that sometime in the future you're going to have that itch and you're going to think, you know what, I just might want to bust these out, and even if it's just a party for a friend or an opportunity may come and you're like, I think maybe I'll keep my options open.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, so you're a mixing engineer. You're also a mastering engineer. So you do both.
Yep.
And you are, even though you're in the UK, you can work with anybody worldwide, I imagine, right? Yeah. So, do you have any projects that you're currently working on, or is there any?
Not at the moment. No, I'm deliberately not searching for clients because I'm just going through what I do and niching down a little bit more.
Oh, I see. Okay. So let me ask you, do you prefer to mix music or do you prefer to master music?
At the moment, I prefer to master music.
Right. It's a different animal. I think people, generally bedroom producers, will just assume that, I know I did it for a long time where I would just mix my song and then I would just limit it, it'd almost be like a half-ass mastering, just like, and then just go with it. And I have since stopped doing that. So I'll do a mix with a lower dB and then create a whole new session at a different time. Like I'll usually, like, I'll never mix and master on the same day, just have fresh ears on it. And there are times where I'll put it into the mastering session and I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh, I got to go back to the mix. Like this isn't even workable. So, but yeah. And I noticed on your website that you had, let's see if I can pull it up. You use WaveLab 14 Pro for your mastering?
Yes.
Is that, I have never heard of it, but I was just curious, is that like specifically for mastering?
Yes.
It's like a mastering DAW.
Mastering and audio editing.
Oh, okay.
And you really do get into the nitty gritty of the sound itself.
Okay.
So I use it because I use Cubase primarily for all the mixing I do. That's my DAW of choice. And Wavelab is part of the Cubase and Steinberg family. So it integrates really, really well. Any of the mastering like I've done for David, I always do standalone.
Right on. So, what kind of walk us through your process of mixing and mastering the tracks that you work on?
If I'm mixing a track, I've got a template that I use that I've designed for myself and my workflow. I try to keep it really, really simple. Just the audio tracks onto it. Then I'll load up an SSL mixer on the inputs.
Like a channel strip?
Yeah. Just load that up. I'll have parallels off the back of the groups. So I'll group everything down, parallels off the back of it, EQ chains, and that's it. I have nothing on the master bus going out at all. I only do processing on the channels themselves or the groups. The actual master, nothing at all. Yeah, that has nothing at all. Then on mastering, I'll just have then a set of plugins that I use on it, which is, first of all, EQ, correction EQ, taking things out that are offensive.
Subtractive EQ.
Shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Then I'll go into spatial multiband processing, a little bit of compression. I've put a limiter on there, but hardly ever use it because you can manipulate the gain to get where you need to get.
Do you play with LUFs at all? Like, do you have like a set -14 LUF that you play with, or that you usually kind of output?
What I normally do is I'll speak to the client, because the clients will say what they want. I can recommend if depends on where they want to go with the music. Like if you want to go vinyl, Spotify.
Right. Vinyl's
Apple,
different
whatever.
though too, isn't it? You'd mix it different. You wouldn't bring it as, it wouldn't be as bassy, if I remember right, because
correct. You back it right off, otherwise the needle's just going to pop out of the vinyl.
Correct. Yep.
And the same as the high end as well. You'd roll that off as well.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of almost it's a little bit more flat of a mix, I would think. But then you also use do you use Ozone at all?
I did.
Have you ever played with Ozone?
I don't know. When I first started mastering stuff for Dave, I used Ozone, and then that was on the first album. Then the rest of them, I didn't use Ozone at all. I find I could do better with my own plugins onto the system rather than utilising just purely Ozone. But it's a good piece of kit, though.
I love it. I actually use it a lot, and it's because I don't fully comprehend like spatial, like stereo field and what can you explain like the spatial stereo, because that's a part of mastering is the stereo field, and how would you go about doing like a quick, or like explaining to somebody like the process of why is that important?
For spatial, you need to get your instruments separated. Your key instruments, obviously, your drums in the middle, your bass in the middle, and your vocals in the middle, your main vocals. Then you need to start locating the instruments around. The easy way to do that, or the easier way to do that, apart from your panning, is then using your mid-side EQs.
Okay.
So you can then filter everything out. So in a certain zone in the stereo field, if you're mid and side, you can widen it, narrow it, you can move it around to where you need it, which is what I find it cleans the mixes up a lot more. So then you get better definition and better pinpoint accuracy of where the sound is coming from.
Right, and it doesn't have like it just kind of fills in some void that you would normally, So, and then to the average listener, they're just going to say, well, this sounds good. Like they're not going to know exactly what you're doing. They just know it sounds better than if you hadn't done it.
Yes, it's like in the mids, if you've got just an absolute wall of bass frequencies coming at you, you don't want the same frequencies coming from the sides.
Right.
So move it out of that. You can get nice and airy in the sides, keep all your bass in the middle. Or if you want to flip it on its head and go something strange, do it the other way around.
Right. I guess there's no rules, right?
No rules at all. You can do what you want. This is where the collaboration with the client, which I had a lot of conversations with Dave about, was because he's got a very sort of particular style, him and Jeff, Nick,
Yes.
sorry.
Well, Jeff's involved too, Jeff Huso. We've had him on the show, but you were talking about Nick Huff, but yeah.
Yeah, they've got a particular style that I had to tune my ear into to understand what they want. And then it was a case of, right, okay, now I can deliver it.
Right. Well,
and that was all the communications that we had.
He loves your work. Like, he up and down, and but he's also very good at promoting too. Like, he's been on our show, and he's all about just supporting the little guy. You know what I mean? He's one himself, you know? So I love it about him.
We all kind of prop up and promote and cross promote each other. You know, that's it's definitely, you know, and we've known Dave for years and years and years. You know, and we've never worked on a project together, but we've been in each other's orbit for a long time, opened for each other in various shows, and it just, you know, it really creates a really, you know, a tight bond of friendship and you know, supporting one another, because, you know, God knows we could all use all the exposure we can get.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most difficult industries to get anywhere in.
You aim into that.
Just because of the sheer saturation.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, it's like winning a lottery, you know. My first show, my first show, impactful show, let's put it that way. My mom had taken me to a concert to see the band Oingo Boingo. And I remember watching Danny Elfman just do his thing, and I'm just completely mesmerized by the whole band, especially him. And then on the way home, telling my mom, I was like 15 at the time, 14, somewhere around there. And I told her that, I said, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And she just kind of smiled and looked at me and said, good luck, you know. And I'm still working on it, you know. I'm 50 years old now, and I'm still trying to get there, you know. But as far as mixing goes, we haven't really we've had Dave on the program, and he's definitely devoted to mixing, but we spent a lot of the time talking about his bands and the music that involved with that, and working with Jeff Huso and those likes. But we have yet to, you're the first actual just like dedicated mixing, mastering engineer. What are some common mistakes that beginners you would think might make when they first start getting into mixing and mastering? And like, if you were to give them advice, like, what would you advise them not to do when they first start mixing?
Overdo it. If you're mixing for a client, learn and understand their brief. Make sure you go through the brief with them, otherwise you're going to just start over-engineering everything and making it sound crap.
Right.
So it's rein it in, small bits.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Take exactly
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. We had a friend of ours that does engineering work, has been doing it for decades now, and he was mixing one of our band's songs, and he added I think it was a little bit of reverb or some sort of distortion to one of the guitar solos, and it wasn't in the brief. And our guitarist called and said, "What the hell is this?" He didn't like it at all, and so I had to explain to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just thought it would sound cool," and I thought it sounded great, but I'm like, "Well, that's not what our guitarist wants." He's like, "I'll take it out," you know. So, but I know exactly what you mean. Briefs are important, especially when you're working with clients. You know, like I think I was trying to frame the question as more of like a bedroom producer.
Bedroom producer is straight away learn your product, learn your DAW, learn your plugins. Most importantly, learn your monitoring.
Right.
If, like me, you're not in an ideal place, these little fellas are the best. But I do have a decent set of monitors as well, and it is acoustically treated as best I can do at the moment. But
no, headphones are great. I actually, we're using headphones here. You just can't see them so much, but I don't really have room treatment. And I know that I would never be able to just like fine tune it anyway, even if I did treat some of it. So to me, I'd prefer, like, I'm just like, well, I'm just going to make it look nice. There's already some room treatment just by having shit in the room, you know, but, I speaking of that other guy, it was like where we were recording one time, and I went to do vocals, and I think he just grabbed a condenser mic and put it in the hallway. No treatment. It was in the hallway. I mean, it was away from, because he has a studio in his house. So it was just like this hallway that goes down to the bedroom. And I'm just sitting there in the middle, and I'm recording this. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, this is just the strangest place to track vocals because of the room ambiance or whatever. And I got to say, man, it came out fantastic. Like it, and then that just kind of had my brain reeling a little bit, like, well, maybe I don't need to have all this fancy like vocal booth and stuff. Maybe it's just, I mean, I guess if it was, at ultra pro level, then you'd probably be going to a nice studio anyway. So
I think you've got to be open to be able to experiment and try and fail and find out. And sometimes you find those sweet, because we used the same location to track a lot of the horn parts for that session.
Yeah, that's right. You did,
and it just acoustically, the space was fantastic, and it was. And we both, I remember Zach and I kind of looked at each other when he went down and he was setting up the mic. We're going to record it right here. And Zach and I kind of looked at each other going, really? Okay, I guess. And then it's like, wow, man, teach me to doubt you, brother.
Yeah.
So, as far as like, if somebody is just trying to get started and decides, I want to get into this, are there,
Quick intermission, folks. We've curated a Spotify playlist called The Guest List, showcasing the incredible artists who grace our show with their talent and stories. Dive deeper into their music. Plus, discover exclusive tracks by Z Frequency. Click the link in the description or search for The Guest List on Spotify. Enjoy, and back to the show.
What essential tools or plugins would you suggest that a beginning producer invest in order to be able to get a good start on things?
Buy a decent DAW, like say things like Reaper. They're like £60 over here. I think $70 or $80 in America.
That's pretty reasonable.
That's really cheap.
Yeah.
Use the stock plugins. Learn the stock plugins. Anybody can get a decent mix out of stock plugins. You don't need to go and spend a fortune on the whole of the Waves bundle or the whole of the UA bundles or all that sort of stuff. You don't need that.
Guilty. I'm guilty.
Everybody is.
Yeah. I'm like, that's me. Yeah. Just last week, I can't help myself.
He's always calling.
I'm a plug-in whore.
I just bought this and this and this and this and this and that. Did you have you played with the last round of shit that you bought, man? Because
I did once, maybe twice, but not in a practical sense or a professional sense. But yeah. So if there was, let's say somebody mention stock plugins, and I absolutely agree with that. If you could only have 2 plugins to use in your mix, what would you suggest they be? I think I know the answer, but
multi-band EQ and a decent compressor.
Yep, that's it. Those are the 2 I would pick too. So, and usually when you approach EQ, I've been taught or self-taught, I guess, but you would approach it as to fix something versus like addition to. It's more of a subtraction. Like I call it subtractive EQ.
Yeah,
but you use that to take away issues in the recording.
Yeah, you get rid of the problems first, then you can start finding the frequencies that you then want to enhance to make the song really pop.
Right. And do you do static mixes too when you do a first run mix down?
Yeah. I just do a straight gain stage, then monitor it really, really low, like literally you can barely hear it.
Yep.
Then you'll hear any tones or instruments that really poke out.
Right.
Then you can go back in, get that done, turn it up to a decent monitoring level. Then you know that you've got your point.
Right.
And then away
you got about 75% there at that point. Yeah.
Yep.
I do the same thing. So
but then,
it makes me feel good talking to a professional engineer where I'm just a bedroom guy, but I'm kind of on the same page. Like I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
So cool.
Then the other big one is then learn automation.
Right.
to make your song flow.
Right.
Bring things in, take things out, make it move, give everything that movement.
Right. And you can actually make emotional movements by automation. Like, so the chorus just jumps up just a little bit louder than the rest of the mix. And it triggers, it's knowing the triggers in the human emotion, of listening to the song. It's like, that's why I love dropouts in like EDM music and stuff. Like it's like a no brainer, right? Like, you see drops or bills or risers, and it's all designed to like change it up, but at the same time get you pumped up.
That's where I learned it from DJing. Because DJing, you have to play the crowd.
Right.
So you build them up, you take them back down again, you build them up again, you take them back down again, and you get to the end of it, you crescendo, and you smash the granny out of them.
Yep.
And they go mental.
They love it.
That's exactly it.
Yep. And they love it.
And you do that in every song. And then when you've got an album, you do it in the album as well.
Right. And that's kind of like a dying thing, I think, as far as because of the landscape of music now, especially indie music, because you have the streaming services, so like album work has kind of like taken a back seat. And I feel like, just if I'm sticking my finger and holding it up to the air, I think there's going to be a time where that is going to be more sought after, And what I mean by that is like the actual whole album project. Like right now, everyone's just doing a single stream, like people are releasing music. And because of like Spotify and some of these other major streaming services, it almost like I wouldn't say forces you to do it a certain way, but it almost encourages you to release one song at a time. Don't release an album. And that's fine. But the problem is, like for us, when we were kids growing up, the albums told a story. It wasn't like just each song was different, but all collectively, it was like this whole mood. It was this whole, and I just hope that people start getting back into that idea of a complete album. Cause right now it's tough.
Yeah. Well, people on Spotify, they just click next. They will not listen to one body of work from a single artist.
Right.
Well, I think though that to touch on that point, Zach, I think that, we're kind of already seeing it just by virtue of the fact that, the increase in vinyl sales. Vinyl sales are on an upward trend, and we're seeing a return to that. And I think everything is cyclical. Whether it's a popular genre, you'll see like ska music. Ska music never went away, and it'll always be around. But you saw the
waves of it,
the wave of it. You had the two-tone vibe, and that wave came, and then you had you get the West Coast ska from California. You had mid 90s, it was huge again, and it ebbs and flows. And I think that that just seeing that vinyl is gaining popularity, and especially with the younger generation coming up, they're starting to buy a lot more vinyl. They're starting to invest in their home stereo equipment again, with getting a good turntable and a good pair of speakers. And it's not just, what can I load on my iPod?
Right. Well, I actually have a lot of hope for Gen Alpha. Like, they're the ones, like, it's almost like they crave that kind of Gen X style of more analog living versus just, they were born into the digital world. That's all they know. And they, believe me, they do a lot of it, because my daughter's one of them. But she really does like record player. In fact, that's what we got her for Christmas, because she wanted a record player, and she got Taylor Swift albums, but that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, hey, everyone knows their first record, but yeah, Matt's right. Ska music started in the 50s. It was like their version of making rock and roll music, and it just slowly came and went, and it had its peaks in certain decades, and I think rock and roll is kind of the same thing, So that's my hope, is that I think people will be more interested in album work, yeah. So,
Trevor, do you remember what was the first album you ever owned on vinyl?
First single I bought was Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang, in 1979. Nice. And the first album I bought, proper album, was Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast.
Oh, great album. That's a great album. Great band. Great album.
Very nice.
Mine was Autograph. The one-hit wonder, Turn Up the Radio.
Duran Duran, Seven in the Ragged Tiger for me. That was the first album that I owned on my own.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. So, what kind of generally, if you're not doing mixing and stuff, what else do you do for like hobby? Like, do you have other hobbies that you engage in?
Obviously the motorcycles, that's come back in.
Right.
I'm just learning coding with my son.
Okay.
So that's something, he wants to get into games design. So
my son's doing the same thing.
Yeah, he's only 13 at the moment, so we're just getting into that and then starting to get him where he needs to be for his GCSEs and all that lot, and then on to higher education.
What kind of game is he trying to make?
He likes shoot 'em ups, like Call of Duty type things.
Oh, okay.
But we start off on the basic stuff first before we start getting into all that.
It's like, listen, this is exactly. This ain't Call of Duty. But we'll try to make it simple. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Matt. You sounded like you were going to say something.
I was just thinking, kind of along those lines, what are you currently listening to? What are the artists or genres or styles that you're currently consuming right now?
Well, I've actually gone back into a little bit of EDM stuff.
Nice. I love EDM.
I've come away from it for a few years, because I got more into rock music, and then my ears sort of like seeking it out again.
Yeah, well, once it's in your blood, it doesn't really ever leave,
No. So I've got the Machina on my desk, which listen to a few things, get a bit of inspiration, then just have a play around with it a little bit.
I've got a Machina, and I've never really touched it. How has the workflow been versus using like a keyboard or using Reaper, DAW sort of format versus like using iMachine or Machina?
I'll use it as a plugin on Cubase.
Okay.
So if I want to do a drum track, I'll use a Machina to do a drum track or a synth.
Okay, so you're not actually writing music on Machina.
No.
Yeah,
no, I don't use it as a
full. It's like
yeah,
and it's like beat making, and I tried it, and I was like, yeah, this is not my flow. I'm more linear. And
I wanted it so I could get all the channels on Machina into separate channels on Cubase. So it's a routing nightmare.
Map it out. Yeah.
It's a routing nightmare and minefield, but I've got it to work.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's always rabbit holes. Like, oh, how do I do this? I'm like, and then I go to YouTube, and then I spend about 3 days trying to figure it all out. And then I do figure it out, and I'm like, cool. And then the project's over, and then I'd never touch that sort of issue for a year or two, and then it's back down the rabbit hole again.
I'll save it as a template.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then you don't think about it. I'm like, oh, I should have saved that shit.
Yeah.
So,
too late.
Yeah, too late. Next time, and then it's just like this vicious cycle. I keep repeating myself.
So throughout the course of your mixing and mastering, career, can you think of like, is there a certain track or a certain project that you've worked on that you got done and you were like, holy shit, look at what I just did? That would kind of be your Mona Lisa of your body of work so far.
The one that really sealed it for me was I did a track called, it was just Graveyard Trap. It was a trap song. I just produced it all out of one go, and it was like, you can do it.
Okay. Is it available? I mean, because we could share it. We could send a link or put it in the description.
I think it's on Spotify.
What's the name of the
artist?
It's
on SoundCloud, sorry, not Spotify. It's me.
Oh, it's you. So under Trevor Noakes?
Yeah, okay. I produced it. And
wow.
Okay. I'll have to, we'll make sure to plug that. So, hey,
it
boys
probably
and girls,
sounds terrible to today's standards, but it was that thing that I did. When did I do it? God, it was about 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And that was I can do it. So then
I see what you're saying. That was your aha moment then, is what really, that's what it sounds like to me. That was like, okay, I'm in business.
Lots of little ones have built up to, right, sure. I'm now going to try and do this for a living.
Well, it's just like learning how to play golf, right? You're learning to play golf, but it's that one game that you've already played several, but it's that one game you did well. you're hooked for life. Like they just like, I got to go back. It's like an addiction.
No wonder I never got hooked on golf.
I never did either because I was horrible. I never had that good game. That's what I'm trying to say. I just lost money and my balls. That's pretty much what happened to me. So
sounds like marriage.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. So what services do you provide for people?
Well, as I said, mixing and mastering. They're what my main parts are.
Do you have like a fixed rate, or do you like it depends on the project sort of thing?
It depends on the project. I have so many people say, how much you charge for a mix?
All right.
And then it's like, okay, tell me about your project. Are you giving me stems? Are you giving me individual tracks?
Right.
Are they produced to a certain level, or are they rough? It's a bit of a rabbit hole of, I don't want to turn around to somebody and say, yeah, it's 350 quid a mix.
Right. And then they pay that and you get buried in 1,000 tracks like Dave sent you.
We call that the Hunsaker rate.
Right. Hunsaker
That's
rate.
a whole different level of shit, man.
But you're right. So it varies. It varies. And I guess it just depends on how professional those tracks are coming into your session.
Now, do you prefer working with the raw product or something that's a little bit more refined?
Both. The raw product is more interesting because you can really get into it, but then it's how receptive is the client to any critique that goes back their way. It's like you need to go back and look at this instrument because it was really recorded badly. Or like you say, what you guys did, you've looked out on that one positioning of a microphone when you're doing your horns, and it sounded great.
Right.
So if it sounded great, then the mix engineer doesn't need to do a lot to it. Just needs to balance it into the song.
My newest lesson over the last couple or few years is capture. Like just do an amazing capture.
Get it right at the source.
Takes out so much. Yeah, get it at the source. And whatever you can do. But you're right. I think depending on raw tracks versus some refinement is like the difference of using the carving knife or the butter knife,
Yeah, you could turn around to an artist and say, right, you've got a really good song. The song sounds like it'll be marketable. I think the best thing to do now, because I don't have a recording studio here to have an artist come in to do recordings.
Oh, okay.
So that'd be right. Let's go to a studio somewhere, but it's going to cost you a bit more.
Oh, yeah.
So then it's like that project needs it. So are you at a stage as an artist are you a full-time artist? Are you a part-time artist? Are you a bedroom artist that just fancies getting a song mixed and shoved on Spotify?
Right.
Then are you going to invest in £600 a day, £1,000 a day to go to a studio to, let's say, professionally record it and get it at capture?
Do they have studios out there for open space studios that you could go and talk to the studio, say, hey, I've got a client come in, I want to mix, or as the engineer and go in. Yeah. Do you do a lot of work with the bands and artists in your area, or do you end up?
Not at the moment, no. That's where I want to try and get into.
So what ways are you doing to promote? Because I noticed you have a website and it looked pretty good. I liked it. Do you do any promoting on that to try to get some revenue?
That's a bit all the marketing stuff is what I'm learning at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So I've done various Facebook ads just to see what click rate I get and any conversions.
How has that been working out for you?
Got a good click rate, but no conversions at the moment.
Conversions are poor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do Instagram ads as well?
I'm going to start doing that.
Okay.
This is where I've been niching down there, and they're thinking, right, what am I going to advertise? I'm going to initially start and go, right, I'm going to offer you mastering services. So I'm going to do some adverts just on mastering. Just because
I wonder if you had some sort of giveaway that would be kind of something you could reproduce, like a digital giveaway or something, like some sort of a PDF file or something.
Yeah.
To just get people in the door, to get you, to give them, let's say, their email address to you, and use email marketing to really dial in but I don't know, do they have, here in the States, especially in Utah where Dave and I and Matt live, they have a news station that has its own website that's like classified ads, because they don't really do classified ads anymore. But that's where people will post services as well. And that tends to be okay. Do they have anything like a Craigslist or something? Do they have that out there for you guys?
I haven't seen anything like that over here.
Yeah.
But I've not actively searched it yet, so.
Right. Marketing's a big, that's a whole nother animal. And I've been driving down that rabbit hole for a year now. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, because this podcast's brand new. It's growing. It's slow. It's slower than I'd like, but it is growing, and it will continue to grow. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I'll just throw some money at this, and try to grow it even faster. And part of me is like, do it, and the other part of me is like, no, let it be organic, but I still would like to. And the thing for me with the podcast side of things is it's a little different, because it used to be where you would just, podcasts were audible, right? Like everything was just like a radio station or some sort of talk show sort of thing. And so your advertisement would be little audio clips that you would insert into the middle of somebody else's podcast. Now that's shifted. So now it's like video, right? Most of this is video. Like I will always pretty much steer our listeners to YouTube over, even though we're on Spotify, and the Spotify now has a video, but even podcast, which is just listening only. And there's several others, but I'm trying to figure out how to dynamically tap into the video, like the YouTube side of things, and be productive. And I could throw money at it and I get a lot of views. Like you said, just the conversions are really low, or people don't, they watch past the just 5 seconds that they need to in an in-stream and then skip, but.
Well, and that's tough, kind of, it's just seems like that's how people consume things now, is in 5, 10, 15-second increments, and they're already, let's go to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next.
That's the biggest thing with the website. You look at the analytics on the websites, and the attention span of people looking at websites is about 2 seconds.
We've become damn goldfish, is what it is.
You read the H1 tag on the main website, and that's it. They don't get any past that.
Yeah, nobody's reading
to get.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
To get
I was just going to say, people are reading the headlines. They're not reading the story anymore.
Correct. So I get a lot of text saying, "What services do you provide?" Read the website you just clicked on.
Right.
It tells you.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I've gone to the trouble of writing 3 or 4 pages of the text so you can actually understand what I do.
So what is it? What do you do again?
What do you do?
Yeah.
It's the marketing, the marketing equivalent of per my previous email.
Correct.
So down the road, I mean, as you grow your brand and you grow your craft, would you, given the resources, would you like to have a fully operational recording studio to be able to, if a band wanted to come in and do things to come in to do the recording on top of everything else, or are you kind of focused on staying in the mixing and mastering side of things?
Ultimately, I'd like to. I am in the process of designing a studio that I can build in the garden, because bizarrely enough, my next door neighbours, they were in rock band.
All right, that's convenient. To be honest, that's actually really cool.
So they'd like
never my case.
They want a practice room,
right?
And a practice room that's attached with a mixing engineer and a mastering engineer is like, oh, heaven for them.
All right,
right, yeah, that works out.
Ultimately, I'd like to. Originally, I was on the goal of doing a full transition, going from a day job, transitioning into the mixing, and then completely converting. But doing the maths, it's not going to happen. I'm never going to earn the money that I earn in my day job doing the mixing and mastering. Not unless I'm turning over probably about 40 mixes a month or something daft like that.
Yeah, or you win the lottery, man. Or you end up mixing somebody.
Keep trying.
That's. I mean, really, you could mix and master an album of an artist, and then they blow up. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And they love that sound of that you produced or whatever. They specifically ask for you, and then that's when you have other like label studios flying you into their studio to do it and then pick up work. So it's kind of the same thing as like just being an artist, like sometimes you're lucky, but you're right. Most of the probable is that, yeah, you do it at that point, then you have to ask yourself, why do I do it? You know, and I ask myself that all the time because I've invested a lot of money and my time, and like, what's the point? And it's because it's fun. It's because it brings peace to me, and that way I can deal with the rest of life, you know, on the outside.
If you don't find it fun, don't do it.
Right.
You know, and that is, you know, honestly, I think that is a concept and a phrase in one way or another that has come up on every episode that we've done so far, because this is not, you know, an industry. This is not a choice that is going to be financially lucrative, unless you're extremely lucky, fortunate, and
talented.
and
like, it's not just talent, it's not just luck, it's you kind of have to have both at the same. It's like the stars got to align.
You could be the most talented artist in the world, and you know, and it's never going to pan out. You could have marginal talent and have good luck, and it might happen. It's just got to be a harmonic convergence of all of it. But the bottom line is, if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not doing it because it's something that you love to do, then it's not worth it.
Yeah. You're going to spend a lot of time in the studio or, let's say, practicing in the band like you guys do. If you're not having fun, what's the point?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Because 99% of every band in the garage across the world isn't going to make it any further than in the garage across the world, you know? So that's why you do it for fun. But especially like did you see that article about the Suno CEO of Suno, the AI music guy? So he basically made the claim that musicians don't want to write music anymore. Or they don't have fun. They don't enjoy making music is the claim that he made. And I was like, that is, well, yeah. I mean, if you're using AI all the time to create music, then what fun? Like, they can't be terribly fun. You know, like, to me,
if you're using AI, you're not
oxymoron.
creating music. It's the AI that's creating it for you.
Correct. And that was why, like, I was like, man, this feels like a.
But to me, that's smacked of somebody pushing propaganda that he wants to hear that's going to benefit him, because if he can forward the narrative that artists don't enjoy making music, then it's going to funnel a lot more into people using AI to create it. And
he upset a lot of people in the music community. Like, everyone called bullshit on that, but
including me.
Right.
I remember.
Did too. I was like, wow.
I remember, and I said, "What
this guy? You
the hell is this dude smoking, man? Get toss those banana peels out, pal."
Right. So
it's like another element of the industry is people say you can't master or be a professional mixing engineer from home. Why not?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish did. You know, I'm just giving you a heads up. That's how they recorded their first album.
Absolutely, in the bedroom.
Right, in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, the advances in technology, not only from in every aspect of music production. You know, and I think that we saw out of necessity a big uptick in artists finding new and inventive ways to be creative from home. You know, during the 2020 and the pandemic, when everybody was forced into isolation. You can force us into isolation, but we're going to find ways to collaborate. We're going to find ways to create, and we're going to find new and creative methods of doing so. And I think, you know, anymore you compare it to, you know, where things were 10, 20, you know, years ago, where, you know, you can really, it's very common now to have, you know, projects where, all of the musicians on a certain track maybe have never even met, you know, and never were in the same room, when, you know, with things. That's how, you know, all of our Z frequency music is made. It's all done, you know, with people recording their individual stems at home, sending them to Zak putting them all together and creating, you know,
a full band
out of, yeah,
in the same room at the same time, you know? So, yeah. All right. Well, Trevor, it was great to have you on the show, man. Where can people find out more?
My main one is my website, www.trevornoakesmusic.co.uk.
Okay.
Then
And are you on any socials as well?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Don't know the Instagram address on that one, but
I'll
on
find
Facebook
it and
as well.
I'll post it up there. Yeah, I'll post
I've got
these
a company
links up
Facebook one as well.
Okay, and Facebook as well. Yeah, I think I have a link to that one.
Is there one social media platform that you favor over the others that you're more active on, that you're more present on?
I'm probably more present on Facebook.
Okay. So that's where you go, kids. Go find him on Facebook. Hit him up. I know he answers to Facebook Messenger because that's how we that's how we started our conversation. So, yeah.
I'm used to getting all the American Facebook messengers coming through at 3 o'clock in the morning. So
I know. I'm sorry, man. That's why, we normally don't, like, it's Saturday, like at noon here. Well, it's almost 1 now, but we normally don't do this on a Saturday. But I'm like, we gotta try to be accommodating to Trevor. Like he's probably is it Sunday there? No, it's Saturday night.
Saturday night, yeah.
Right. Okay.
But when I was working with Dave, he was sending stuff through during the day for you guys while I was asleep, and then we had that slight transition. So I'd normally start working on his stuff at 4 a.m. before I start my day job. So I'd do a good 2 hours of working on Dave's stuff before I then do my day job.
Right.
Send him any feedback, and then we just message each other. It worked an absolute treat. I was listening to it, giving him feedback. He'd come back with a revised mix. Then I'd go
because it was in the evening for him. I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he was in the evening. I was at 4 o'clock in the morning, so it worked well.
I think it's 8 hours ahead, so that's whatever that is, like early afternoon. Like, I don't want to do math right now, so.
I was told there would not be any math.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, that's it.
Well, Trevor, it was great to have you on, man.
That's a pleasure
we'll have to do
you
this
guys
again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. It's lovely to meet you both.
Yeah.
Take care. Fantastic to meet you, my friend.
Okay. We'll talk to you later.
No problem. Bye.
That's it for today's episode. A huge thank you to Trevor Noakes for sharing his incredible journey and insights with us.
Make sure to follow Trevor on his social platforms and check out his amazing work. And don't forget to stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll be diving into some of our talented featured guitarists with Z Frequency and Zak's childhood friend, John McCallum.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep the music alive.
Finger guns.